Welcome to BBC London. Coming up this evening, Catholics across the capital reflect on the death of Pope Francis. We hear the impact he had on different communities in London.
Well, I think he's been a real game changer, if that's the right phrase to use.
For all of us in the Latin American community, he was such a figure to look up to.
Also ahead tonight, calls for better crowd control at the Notting Hill Carnival ahead of this summer's event. Plus, we first saw them at the Tower of London in 2014. The ceramic poppies will return to mark VE Day next month. And
it's got an atmosphere of its own, the friendship, the friendliness of it all, and you know it's going to be a great day regardless of the weather.
we meet the man who at almost 80 isn't just running this London Marathon, but has done every single one since it started 45 years ago. Good evening to you and thanks for joining us. As we've been hearing, it has been announced that the Pope's funeral is due to be held on Saturday morning. Here in the capital, Catholic communities have been gathering to remember Pope Francis with special masses held today. They've also been sharing the impact he had on their lives across different communities. Layla Hayes has spent the day with Londoners getting their reaction.
We give thanks to God for his life and for his leadership in the Church.
At St George's Cathedral in South London, Catholics gathered today for a special Mass to remember Pope Francis and to pay their respects.
He was our inspiration because he's our father. So there was a Mass 6 p.m. yesterday, which I was happy to come and honor his name and to show, that we love him no matter what.
He had some real important themes of mercy and hope, and I think that's the proper role for a pastor like him.
He came from humble beginnings, but becoming Pope never changed him.
He was a man of great humility. I met him a number of times and they were beautiful encounters, and he was just ordinary in himself. There were no airs and graces. He carried the office appropriately, but he was a man who saw the face of the person and the eyes of the person and a little bit into the heart and the soul of the person. But individuals mattered to him.
Pope Francis was also a moderniser, approving blessings for same-sex couples. And for the first time, many within the LGBTQ community felt welcomed into the church.
I think he was the first pope to use the G gay word. In 2019, we were the first LGBT Catholic group that he received publicly. More conservative Catholics were up in arms because they saw this as the Pope affirming an LGBT group such as we were.
He was the first Latin American Pope, and here at St Anne's Church in Vauxhall, that moment is remembered fondly.
When he was elected as a Pope, we thought that was the opportunity for our Latin American community because we were very well represented there.
For all of us in the Latin American community, he was such a figure to look up to. And also, not only because he was the Pope, but because of the way that he preached the gospel, the way that he taught us about Jesus.
And churches across the capital will remain open this week for anyone who wants to come and remember him. Layla Hayes, BBC London.
Some reaction from across the capital there. Well, Laxmi Gopal is at St Anne's Roman Catholic Church in Vauxhall now. And Laxmi, a place that has a special affinity with Pope Francis.
That's right, Riz. Yes, behind me, some of the congregation are praying for Pope Francis, and a service is being held later. Now, the congregation here at St Anne's is mainly made up, or entirely made up, of Londoners from Latin America and with Latin American roots, and a lot of them on their way in told me about how much they held Pope Francis in special connection because it was a source of pride for them that he was the first Pope to come from Latin America, and they told me that they felt in particular closeness to him because he had such a special focus on being with people. He had a focus on the dispossessed, the marginalised, and that was another reason that they held him so close to their heart, and they felt the loss quite deeply. A lot of them spoke to me about how emotional they found yesterday. And of course, as head of the Catholic Church, the Pope being the head of the Catholic Church, is a loss felt by Catholic Londoners across the capital, and Catholics make up more than a third of Christians in London. That's higher than the national average. And as is Catholic custom, 9 days of mourning are being observed. And across London, there are many ways that people can pay their respects to Pope Francis, including at Westminster Cathedral. There is a book of condolence that can be signed for those who wish to, for the 9 days of mourning. There's Mass being celebrated at St Mary's University in Twickenham on Friday, and the Catholic Church of the Immaculate Conception in Mayfair is holding a Requiem Mass on Saturday at 12:30. And here there'll be prayers all week and into the 9th day of mourning being observed. And of course there is the funeral for Pope Francis on Saturday, local time 9 o'clock, as in 9 o'clock in London.
From Vauxhall, Lakshmi, thanks very much. That is our top story this Tuesday, but plenty more to come before 7, including...
Here at Queen's Park Harriers Athletics Club in Willesden, they're paying tribute to one of their own, a man who has run every single London Marathon.
And we meet the man behind this live interactive tube map. Find out why it's such a hit with transport fans. Every year, it now attracts around 2 million visitors from across the country and beyond. The Notting Hill Carnival is a huge celebration for the capital, but once again, there are calls to review crowd safety. It comes as concerns have been raised about the ability to keep visitors safe. Organisers say they use experts from all areas of event organisation. Our political editor, Carl Messer, has more.
It's Europe's biggest street carnival, but also the biggest one-off annual challenge for London's police. As Carnival continues to grow, so have the pressures on overcrowding on the streets of Notting Hill. This was the Met Commissioner speaking last year.
It's a poorly run event. It's not run by experts in event management in the way that most big events are. We're actually more worried about the crowd risks and the risks of a mass fatality event through a crushing incident.
His arguments aren't new ones. 20 years ago, BBC London was reporting on just the same issues.
How do you make a carnival safe for 600,000 people?
The then Mayor, Ken Livingstone, had thought about moving parts of Carnival from the streets to prevent dangerous overcrowding. After last year's event, an independent review was begun into Carnival. Today, a London Assembly committee published its own review, calling for changes.
The committee wants everybody to look at it again, see where the pinch points are, see where the real problems are, and try and address those problems.
I mean, your personal view is different to that of the committee, isn't it? I mean,
my personal view is much, and it is my personal view, it is much stronger than that. I think that there are going to be severe problems here one day, and nobody seems to be really taking that seriously.
But you want to see Carnival banned?
My personal views are different from the actual committee in its entirety.
Have you had breakfast already?
The Home Secretary was in London today launching the government's pilot scheme for school breakfast clubs. She backs Carnival but says the ongoing review into its safety is wise.
It's really important that the big community events are also done safely, and that's essential, and this obviously is a big important event in the year, and that's why I think there's already been reviews, lessons being learned as a result of what happened at last year's Carnival. It's really important that that takes place, and it's really important that all events in the capital are safe.
She also said today that her team, Scotland Yard and the Mayor's office were conducting a review into how the Met Police is funded.
London has had some historic problems. That's why we're conducting this joint finance review into the Met and into what's happening. But we've also made sure, as part of our neighbourhood policing guarantee, that Londoners will see more police actually out on the beat.
Many of those, of course, will also be at this year's Carnival. Carl Mercer, BBC London.
OK, turning to some of the day's other news. A 29-year-old man has been arrested on suspicion of murder after a woman named as 45-year-old Pamela Monroe was stabbed to death in North London on Saturday. She was found with stab wounds at an address in Ailey Croft in Enfield. 15 people have been arrested as part of a Met operation into an organised shoplifting gang in southwest London. 8 shops were raided, suspected of buying items that had been stolen and selling them on at lower prices. And the London Ambulance Service say 59 of their decommissioned vehicles have been donated to Ukraine since the start of the war in 2022. It says the latest donation of 9 ambulances has now been delivered to the front line. Next, to the latest in the ongoing saga of Hammersmith Bridge in West London. Back in 2019, it suddenly closed to cars due to safety concerns, only to then shut completely for all users the following year. Since then, Hammersmith and Fulham Council has spent £48 million to make the bridge safer. It's just reopened again, not only for pedestrians, but cyclists and e-bike users too, after a refurb. Michael Mackenzie has been to take a look.
Back on the bridge! Hammersmith Bridge closed back in 2019 when the 138-year-old structure started to have cracks. It did reopen to pedestrians and cyclists, but over the weekend, a brand new £2.9 million cycle lane was opened.
It's so wonderful. It's so nice to have the bridge open, that we have access over to Barnes. The dogs love it. They can run freely. People can run and the bicycles don't interfere. It's safer.
Oh my God, it's amazing. I just love it. I can walk every day here because I love it so much.
Seems like it's just a crazy amount of money, right? Like, I'm sure there's loads of work underneath reinforcing it that's gone into it that we don't know about. But yeah, it seems like a crazy amount of money and we're still not even allowed to drive over it.
Do you think it'll ever reopen to vehicles?
Yes, I think it will.
I wouldn't like to be reopened for vehicles, so fingers crossed it would never be.
Do you think it'll ever reopen to vehicles?
I hope not.
There are 3 new lanes here on Hammersmith Bridge. We've got 1 here for the pedestrians, and then we've got another 2 here for the cyclists and people who use e-bikes and e-scooters. Hammersmith and Fulham Council have spent a total of £48 million restoring and making the bridge safe, but it's still unclear as to when the bridge will finally open to vehicles. Michael Mackenzie, BBC London.
Thanks for being with us. Still to come before the end of the programme. Why the ceramic poppies that adorned the Tower of London in 2014 will be returning next month. Now, whether you use the tube or not, we're all familiar with the famous London Underground map. But wait until you see this new online map that's really got people talking, showing exactly where trains are as they move from one station to another in real time. It's been created by engineer and blogger Ben James, who joins me in the studio. Very warm welcome to you. Before we take a look at it, first question, why?
Well, TfL publishes all the data publicly, so anyone can build anything that they'd like to. And then additionally, I've been using AI to write a lot of code, which means I can build things much faster. And so this was just a fun idea of something to build. OK, so let's look at the local station to us here, which is Oxford Circus. So we're just going to bring it up and let's hone in on that. So what we're seeing here, just tell us, is live tube traffic in the area, with those slightly darker lines on each tube. Is a tube train moving? Is that right? That's it. So the light lines between stations are the tracks that show the lines between different tube stations, and then the dark lines overlaid onto them that are moving are the tube trains moving on those tracks.
So, and of course, Oxford Circus, there are quite a few interconnecting lines, not least the Victoria and the Bakerloo. Yeah. So you could actually, no, you can see them moving now. Obviously, a little bit of rush hour there. How long did this take you to do?
It was about 2 months of evenings and weekends. I was hoping it was going to be faster initially, but it took quite a lot of time to get all the data exactly right. I had to adjust each of the 270 stations and get all the data from TfL into a good format, but we got there in the end. OK. And
if we take a look at it again, you can hover, is that right? You can hover over any of the moving trains and there, a box pops up with the train model the destination, but perhaps more usefully for commuters, the exact times to the second it'll get to the next stops. Is that right?
Yeah, so for each train you can see future stops that they're going to call at. And this is kind of something that was surprising because I really built this just as a fun visualization to look at.
Yeah.
But people have been saying that they're actually using it for commuting, which was not something I expected. So yeah, I then added some departure boards as well so that you can see live where trains are going to stop at.
Now, were you surprised with the reaction that this has got? Because it's really, you know, it's popular and transport fans love it.
Yeah, I was really surprised. I mean, I really just made it for myself and I thought maybe a few friends would look at it. It had like 100,000 views in the first week and 10 million map data requests. So yeah, hugely surprised.
Yeah, because as we've just shown that, it is useful as well as entertaining, because I tried it earlier and you find yourself just watching these trains. I mean, I never thought that would happen. What next? Because you clearly enjoy this. It's proved popular. But what have you got your eye on next?
I mostly work on energy tech, and so I've been working on some other projects breaking down the cost of UK electricity bills, and I like to continue working on what we can do to make the grid and electricity cheaper and cleaner.
Yeah, so it's a real champion, I suppose, for Londoners, if it can help them, as you say. What is it that you love about this kind of thing?
I think it's just the love of making. Like, technology is all too often just built for, you know, functional reasons or to make money, but really just building things for the fun of it is fantastic, and it's one of the most fundamentally human things. And it's like we exist in a time where it's the easiest to make something that's ever been and to distribute it, and it's only getting easier.
Well, do you know what? Good on you, and thank you so much, Ben, for coming in and talking us through that and for doing it. We await and see what you come up with next. Thank you. Lovely to meet you.
Thanks.
That's Ben James there. Now, whether you're a runner or spectator, the countdown is on. It's only 5 days to go until the London Marathon takes to the streets of the capital. And this Sunday, among the thousands taking part, is a man from North Finchley who'll turn 80 just days after the race. But not only that, wait for it, he's run every single one of the 45 races since it started in 1981. And this evening, there's a special event taking place at his running club. Our sports reporter, Chris Lake, is there and can explain more. Hi, Chris.
Yeah, Riz, this is Queen's Park Harriers Athletics Club in Willesden, and every year on the Tuesday before the London Marathon, they do a team relay marathon. They get together and complete a marathon distance between them. And you might be able to see the man with the clipboard over there. That's Bill O'Connor. He's already run his lap tonight. He's now faithfully recording the times of everyone else. He has given up so much of his life to help run this club. And he also has, as I found out when I went to meet him at home last week, a remarkable London Marathon achievement to boast.
But there's surely a sight that quickens the pulse of even the most seasoned distance runner.
The start of the very first London Marathon way back in 1981. Somewhere in that heaving mass, 6 men who have taken part every year since. Among them, adopted Londoner Bill O'Connor, who moved here from New Zealand in the 70s.
Tell me, how old were you when you ran your first London Marathon, and how old are you now going into your 45th?
I think I was 35 then, and I'm 79 now. I'll be 80 in a couple of weeks' time.
And has it got harder?
It's got slower.
It was after the 15th marathon in 1995 that organisers guaranteed a lifetime place to anyone who had finished them all. There were 42 then. Now, there's 6.
How many more do you think you've got left in you?
Well, I've got this far. I'd like to do another 5 if I could to get to 50, but I'm not sure. We'll have to take it year by year now as we go. But it's amazing to think the course is still basically the same course that we started out in 1981. I can remember when we came over Tower Bridge and turned right to go out towards the east land of London, there was nothing out there. There was just derelict land. You could have bought the lot for a couple of quid, I think.
Always there to support Bill, wife Tricia.
It's amazing, absolutely amazing. At his age, taking it on, I think, is wonderful. And being part of the ever-present group has been a very important part of it all.
Of the 44 medals laid out in front of you, what's your favourite one?
It's probably this one here. It's a copy of the very first one. The first one was a little coin, like a 2p piece, but we could actually get these as well on the after the marathon to buy them as souvenirs. It's got the map on the back of it of the course, which popped up with some of the other medals later on.
What is it that makes the London Marathon so special?
It's got an atmosphere of its own, the friendship, the friendliness of it all, and you know it's going to be a great day regardless of the weather, plus of course the huge crowds that turn up every year.
And I'm sure Bill's going to get a lot of support from those huge crowds. Now look at this for some Strava arts. This is what Bill O'Connor means to Queen's Park Harriers. At the weekend they set out 11 of the runners here to draw his face across the streets of London. In fact, between them it took them 3 or 4 days to put that art together. We can hear what he means to people here now, Roma and Gavin. Roma, you're going to run your very first London Marathon at the weekend. How much has Bill inspired you?
Oh, he's a huge inspiration for us. I mean, training for one marathon is hard enough. I can't imagine what it's like having to do that every year for 45 years. Not only that, but he gets involved in everything else we do in the club as well in terms of the racing. So track races, cross country, he's involved in everything, and he's just a huge inspiration and really shows that it doesn't matter how old you are, it's just one foot in front of the other. And I really hope when I'm 80, if I make it to 80, that I can still run marathons.
We hope to see that, no pressure. Gavin, what does he mean to the club down here?
Well, I think as you've seen tonight, he's got a really important job keeping track of everyone as they're running around the track and keeping note of their laps. But actually, Bill's been doing important jobs for about 40 years in the club, and there's been times when maybe we wouldn't have the club as we know it today without Bill. He's the president at the moment, he's been secretary, treasurer, numerous sort of coach positions and track captains, and actually it's through people like Bill that clubs like ours can continue. You know, people giving their volunteer hours over multiple years. So we always need more volunteers, and Bill's just a great inspiration for giving back to the community.
Well, thanks for your time. You've got to go and do your laps later. Live coverage of the London Marathon, BBC One from 8:30, and of course all day on BBC Radio London on Sunday. Riz.
Thanks, Chris. We love Bill and everyone running. Well, I think it's mile 22 for the Tower of London. And you may remember back in 2014, the resplendent display of thousands of ceramic poppies cascading down the tower to mark the centenary of the start of the First World War. Now they're on their way back, this time for the VE Day 80th celebrations next month. And work on the new installation started today, as Tim Muffet has been finding out.
2014. And flowing around the ancient walls of the Tower of London, a stunning memorial. It was called Blood-Swept Lands and Seas of Red. It marked the centenary of the start of World War I. It featured almost 890,000 ceramic poppies, each one representing a British military life lost during the First World War. In recent days, 30,000 of those poppies have been returning to the tower.
Van's just arrived with the first batch of poppies, ready for the installation next week.
When the 2014 installation was dismantled, most of the poppies were sold, the money raised going to charity. But 30,000 were acquired by the Imperial War Museum, which has lent them back to the tower for a new display, marking the 80th anniversary of VE Day.
What's it like to hold those poppies again?
Oh, it's really exciting to hold them. I was here in 2014 and part of the team that put on the display. Yeah, it just feels really special to see them back here at the tower again. This time we're doing it in the inner ward, so inside the castle itself. We're going to have poppies cascading over the side of the White Tower and then flowing down almost like a river and coming out underneath St Thomas's Tower and into the South Moat.
This morning, the first of the poppies was put into place.
This is almost the last moment we'll have to celebrate the achievements of that great generation who were part of the Second War, who fought in it, who were on the home front. And so bringing the poppies back inside the Tower of London, albeit at a smaller scale in 2014, is our opportunity to both remember, but also to mark the resilience of people and places.
More than 5 million visitors came to see the 2014 poppy display, created by artists Paul Cummins and designer Tom Piper.
2014 had a huge impact on the tower. Actually, we became known as a place for remembrance and commemoration. And since then, we've done a number of different installations. So we did one with flames for 2018, which was an evening event. And we also did Super Bloom in 2022 for the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. So I think we've become known as a place to come to remember and reflect.
Almost 1,000 years old, the Tower of London is best known as the home of the crown jewels, beefeaters and ravens. But more recently, as a place where visually stunning national memorials are created. This one is set to become the latest. Tim Muffet, BBC News.
Lovely. OK, let's see how the weather's looking with Corsa. And I think a mixed bag is how you usually describe it when it's like this.
Exactly that, Riz. It seems to be my favourite phrase recently. A mixed bag indeed. But we have had some decent weather today, haven't we? Good evening to you all. Look at this picture here, sent in from one of our weather watchers earlier today. There was some sunshine out there. We did see some cloud bubbling up as well into the afternoon. 1 or 2 showers around, but it has stayed mostly dry. But that's not the case for this evening and for tomorrow, because we are expecting some rain to arrive in from the west. Cloudy conditions tomorrow morning then, with that rain still lingering before it clears, and it does become a bit drier and brighter later. But for this evening, at least, it is dry for the time being, with some clear skies, some late spells of sunshine. And then this system will arrive in an area of low pressure, some weather fronts, and it will bring some outbreaks of rain. Now, some of this rain may actually be welcome for the gardens. For the time being, then dry, but then here's that rain arriving in by the early hours. You can see from the greens on the map, some intense outbreaks, and temperatures holding up at around 7 or 8 Celsius. But it does mean for tomorrow morning and for the morning commute, it could be quite wet still. Outbreaks of rain clearing through, though, and during the day, it stays quite cloudy. There should be some drier, brighter weather, but also the chance of some showers, and it will be cooler. Temperatures 13, 14 Celsius. Now, for tomorrow evening too, any showers will then fade away, and we are expecting that cloud still to be with us for a time, some clear spells overnight, but then some mist, some fog will arrive in for tomorrow night, for Thursday morning, a bit damp in places, and temperatures still holding up at around 5 to 8 Celsius. So it means for Thursday, it is quite a cloudy day. Some mist, some murk around as well, a bit damp in places, but it should become a bit drier and brighter later in the day, and temperatures 15 to 17 Celsius. And then we are expecting another dry day to come largely on Friday. It will be mostly cloudy once again, but there is the chance of some rain arriving later in the weekend, but warmer air as well. And that's your forecast, Riz. So warm air for Sunday.
A weather lucky dip. Thank you, Corsa. And that's it. More on our website, including one to raise a smile, how gardener Monty Don's dog has been involved in helping design a garden for this year's Chelsea Flower Show. Ned is absolutely gorgeous. Check it out. From all of us here, thanks for watching and enjoy your evening.